Welcome to the Ambitious Coach Podcast. This is a place where driven, determined coaches learn how to get off the business growth struggle bus and learn how to build a wildly profitable online coaching business. I'm your host, Allison Henderson, corporate dropout to six-figure social media business coach. I'm going to show you how I've been able to create the business of my dreams organically, all through utilizing my social media platforms. So pull up a seat, take some notes, and get ready to see your life and bank account transform. Hello, and welcome back to the Ambitious Coach Podcast. I had such a wonderful conversation with business strategist, best-selling author, and podcaster, Amy Traugh. She is known as the Metrics Maven. I wanted her to come on and give you some insights on how to start tracking what is working and what's not working inside of your business. So more on Amy. She has a globally ranked podcast called Metrics Maven. She has a book called The CEO Method, and she is known for helping solo entrepreneurs shatter business plateaus with ease. She believes strategically leveraging data is the key to achieving rapid, sustainable, and consistent business growth. Amy empowers entrepreneurs to ditch the data drama, stop second-guessing yourself, and to start growing with clarity and confidence. You're going to love this episode so much. I'll see you again next week. Bye. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I have a very special guest today, Amy Traugh. She is a business strategist who specializes in metrics. I wanted to have her on today because she knows all kinds of stuff I don't know about. I really wanted to pick her brain. She has a podcast herself. She is just full of a wealth of knowledge. So welcome to the podcast, Amy.
Thank you so much, Allison. I'm excited for this conversation because metrics are one of those topics that people kind of glaze over when you start talking about. But I am here to help you ditch the data drama and start growing your business.
Love it. Well, Amy, before we get started, tell everyone just a little bit about yourself. How did you get started in the industry?
It's been a wild road that I never would have saw myself sitting here today having this conversation with you. I actually come from a career in healthcare. I worked for 15 years as a physical therapist, outpatient physical therapy, and then this little thing called the pandemic happened. So it was at that point that I had a kindergartner and a preschooler, and there was no childcare. And suddenly I was thrust into the role of, okay, you've got to teach these kids because we're still in the midst of the school year. And I had always had it on my heart to start a business. But, life. I was working 40 hours a week. I had 2 kids. I didn't have the time for that. I was so complacent in what I was doing. I was just on autopilot. But that pandemic gave me the opportunity to finally reflect and ask myself, what do I really truly want out of life? So it was at that point I made the choice to make a change, started my first business, grew it, scaled it, sold it, did it again. And now I teach other people how to do the exact same thing because it all comes down to doing what I did my entire career in physical therapy. It's leveraging those metrics, that objective data to drive your decisions that will get you the results that you want. And what I love about it is that it works. This doesn't rely on algorithms. This doesn't rely on all these external factors. The keys to success are already right in front of you, hidden within your metrics. You just need to know where to look.
Okay, well, let's get started. Where should we start looking? I guess a lot of my audience, some of them are brand new and some have been doing this for a really long time. So even for myself, who's going on year 6, almost 7, I'm still not necessarily utilizing, probably to the best of my ability, all of my resources that I have available to me. So where should somebody get started if they're, I don't know if there is if you're in your first year or if you're in year 10, or if it's all the same. So I'd kind of love to, get your perspective on that.
Yeah. So I would say simple is sustainable. The biggest mistake I see entrepreneurs making, no matter where you're at in business growth, whether it's day 1, day 100, year 100, it all comes down to keeping it simple. Simple is sustainable. And what happens is we're always overcomplicating things. We see these really fancy CRMs and they give us so much data. And then we have all these numbers and we don't even know what to do with them. So I always recommend when you're first starting out, leverage what's already in your business. And it really comes down to 3 key areas: marketing, sales, and operations. If you track one metric in each of those 3 areas, you will be able to start to see growth. You'll start to see patterns. You can get curious and identify those leaks in your funnel, because this is what works. That's going to be the GPS that guides you from where you are to where you want to be in a way that is simple, sustainable. You don't have all the drama, and you actually enjoy doing it. And you don't have to have like a math degree. You don't have to be a numbers person and love spreadsheets. No, you're going to figure out the metrics that move the needle for you. So if you'd like, I can give you some examples in each one.
I would love some examples. Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh, because that just makes things more concrete, right? So let's start with sales. Starting really simple. Look at what's selling. What in your product suite is selling, and what is the conversion rate on those products? Because that can identify, okay, is there an issue with visibility? Is there an issue with messaging? Is there an issue with, if you're getting on sales calls, the conversion rate with the sales call? That lets us identify exactly where the gap exists so that we can fill it. So with that one, sales, just, hey, what's selling? And then with marketing, I love to get into where. Where are those ideal clients coming in from? So think about your favorite clients that you love working with. How did they find you? And if you don't know, ask. All you have to do is ask. There's some really cool tracking that you can add as well called UTMs. If you add those onto the back end of your different freebies and opt-ins, you can get some really cool data with that. If you just Google it, there's a bajillion YouTube videos out there. And even if you're not super techie, like I am not a super techie person, you can easily go online, watch a video, and put this little snippet of code on your opt-in so you can see exactly where your marketing efforts are paying off. So sales, what's selling, marketing, where are people coming from, and then operations. I want you to get really dig into the profit margin of your business, because this shows you the growth. And this is where in the online space, a lot of people get frustrated because we're always comparing, right? We get into our heads and we're comparing our success to someone else's. We're comparing apples to oranges. But the reality is we want to be comparing your business to the business that it was a month ago, a quarter ago, a year ago, and track that growth. And your profit margin is a perfect indicator of your health, because a lot of these huge wins that we see, we're not getting the full story. We're taking them out of context and we're seeing, okay, yeah, they had a $50,000 launch, but you didn't see that they spent $30,000 in ads on the back end. So really taking the time to track your profit margin and really have the awareness as to that cash flow in your business. Maybe there's things that you're spending money on that you really don't need to. And then to tie it all together with a bow, how do you track this? For most entrepreneurs, 99% of them, just use a Google Sheet. It's simple. It's already in your business. You don't have to go and add something else. And you can even set up automations to automatically populate it in there via Zapier for free. It's that simple.
I love that. You broke it down so easily. And I think even if you're a brand new entrepreneur or anybody who's listening to this, like this is something you can start doing today.
Yes.
I know I do some of these sort of things, but even just on the back end, like tracking who's signing up for my freebies? Where are they coming from? I know I've been on your podcast. So it's like, is my freebie, is a lot of people signing up from your podcast. So I think having these little things could be so helpful because, you know, maybe in the future I can be like, Amy, I'd love to be on your podcast again. I had 100 people just from your podcast sign up for this freebie of mine. So then you can actually see like, what other collaborations could you be doing? Is podcasting maybe even like a big thing where like, hey, maybe I should be on more podcasts. So anyway, I love this, everything that you had said, because I think it's so simple, like you said, and something you can easily just start tracking today. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you're working with clients and they're like so afraid of the techie things, like like I even know like a lot of my clients are like, I don't know what to do with the SEO and, adding these little coding things on the back end of my website. Cause I know people probably heard that and were like, how do I do that? Oh my God, that sounds so scary. Like how do you coach them through that?
Yeah, it's curiosity. It all comes down to, okay, we've identified the gap. That's awesome. Now we know that there's a gap. So now we can approach it and we can solve it because there's always a solution. And this is where our brain tries to keep us safe. We go into that survival mode and we're afraid of loss. So we're very loss averse. So we're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And then we go into this analysis paralysis. So just get curious and start to seek those solutions. How can I get more visible? How can I make this process easier? Do I really need to be doing X, Y, and Z within my business? Why am I doing this within my business? So curiosity is one of the most undervalued assets that as an entrepreneur, we possess. Think about your kids. They're constantly asking why, mom, why this, why that? Like, okay, what if we embrace that? As an entrepreneur, that curiosity, when we do approach these obstacles, instead of just shutting down and going, I don't know what to do next. Okay, let's get curious and just take the next step forward. Because what does that do? It gives us data. Even if it doesn't work, okay, now we have data as to, well, this solution didn't work so well. Let's try something else. Let's adapt, adjust, make those small little tweaks to it so that we can grow faster.
So good. Now, I know my spiritual brain and my logical brain are two separate. It's like there's that part of me that just like wants to be in the flow. Like, oh, but like my business is so chill. I'm like, I don't want to have to deal with numbers and blah, 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 right? And then there's that part of me too that's like, but I want to hit like, $500,000 this year. So how am I going to do that, right? And so I like that once again, you're making this really simple, but like, how would you coach somebody through this? Like, I know it's like getting curious, but like there's probably some entrepreneurs that are straight up like, I'm not going to look at that spreadsheet. Like, are you crazy, Amy? And then there's the ones that are like so type A. They're like, I need to see every single number. Like, how do I do this? And how do I do that? So I'd love to kind of maybe coach me a little bit through that because I am very like chill and very zen in my business. But I also know I probably need to look at the numbers more.
I love that because that's the reality. It's that duality of being able to hold space for both. Yeah. But when you do take the time to leverage your data, it doesn't take that long. Once you establish a system, it should take you less than an hour a month. So what does that do? It opens the space for more creativity, more flow, because now you see exactly what's resonating. When you go into your analytics and you go, oh, that post really landed. What can I do? Or what did I do in that post that I could replicate and do again? Mm-hmm. So it all comes down to treating your business like a business. Yes, I'm all about like, let's let there be flow. We are creating this business for freedom. And structure on the back end is what creates the space for the freedom that we all desire. Yeah, so this isn't something that needs to be all constraining. No, like trust your gut because your gut is going to lead you in the right direction. But what if we added in that data to give you even more confidence as you're making those decisions so that you can grow even faster?
Yeah. So I'd love for you to kind of give me maybe like a case study of somebody who's come through. Maybe this is a group client or a one-on-one where like once they started implementing the data, like what happened?
Yeah. So my favorite thing to do is to really hone in and see those marketing metrics because we get in our heads and we like to think we know that we know what's working. But sometimes the reality can be completely different. So I had a client come to me and she's like, I'm posting constantly on Instagram. I'm posting all this content. I have a CTA. I'm doing all the reels, but I'm not actually getting any clients from Instagram. So I go, okay, well, let's pause. Let's zoom out. Where are you getting clients from? She's like, well, most of my clients come from my email list. I have a very high conversion rate on my email list. I go, okay. What if we leverage that data and we know that people are buying from your email list. So how can we get more people on your email list? How can we nurture them on social to put them on the list that you own so that we can really double down on sales there? So we're not putting all of our energy on social. We're double downing on email, really making sure we have a really solid email sequence that we're guiding people through on that journey that converts. And when she did that, she saw an increase of 40% in her conversion rate. It was like magical. I loved it. But that's the thing. Data lets you see things from a different lens. It shifts the perspective to show you those hidden opportunities that are right there. This isn't anything earth-shattering. It's literally hidden in plain sight. You just need to know where to look.
Love that. So I know a lot of people on their sales calls like don't necessarily track their conversions or anything like that. And maybe this is just like being a new entrepreneur and like you're kind of nervous and scared on those first few sales calls. And maybe even you still are. You might be like 2 or 3 years in. You're like, what's an easy way to, I guess, track that? Would you just say that's like a Google Doc or, Google Sheets? Like what's a better way to track those sort of things?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a simple Google sheet. How many people did you get on a call with versus how many people actually bought? That's how you get your metric there. But something I love to have people track is the objections. What are people asking when you're getting on those sales calls and they're not buying? Because then what you can do, you can use that data as information to address those objections in your email, in your social media content, on your podcast. It's a gold mine of information right in front of you. So if you're like, I don't want to track the numbers. Okay, cool. This is your business. You get to do what you want to do because at the end of the day, you make the rules. But when you start tracking those objections, you're going to start to see common patterns. Yeah. And then you can use that to reflect it back in their language. So now when that person's going through, they're like, oh my gosh, she's in my head. How does she know exactly what I'm going through?
Yeah. I actually just did in one of my groups talked about, when you're getting constant, like, I can't afford it, like on the call. And I'm like, but they should already know the price. They should already know that coming into it. So it's like, that's an objection that you keep getting. So on the application or even before they book that sales call, there should be something on there that says how much this program is. So you're not getting those, I can't afford it on those calls. And I think that's one of the biggest things. I'm so happy that you mentioned that. It's not just about how many people am I closing on the call. It's what are all the other things that they're saying? Like, so really keeping track of that so that before they get on a call, maybe you're just a lot more prepared to answer those questions.
Yeah, it really helps you navigate and call in the right people because you're being upfront, you're being transparent about it, and you're not wasting your time getting on calls with people that are like, well, I would never be able to afford this. This is not something. You get those people on the call that are ready to buy. And even if they don't, it's still great market research. So we need to get out of our heads and just learn to listen and use that information that we're gaining to improve.
What are some other things that, as a new business owner, they're just getting started out? So metrics obviously is a big thing that you talk about, but is there anything else that you feel like, hey, strategically, these would be some things I'd start doing even on day one of building your business?
Yeah, really get into the why. Why are you doing this? Because entrepreneurship is a roller coaster and there will be days when you want to quit. But when you know exactly what you want and why you want it, that will get you through those quit points. Because as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of noise around us. We're constantly consuming. There's so much information out there that we go into information overload. And then what do we start doing? We're pivoting constantly. We're chasing the shiny objects because we see what everyone else is doing. So it's so important that we have that laser focus as to what is my zone of genius and stay there. Stay there and stop getting distracted by all of the things that you could be doing. Because yes, all of these things out there work. And when you see other people doing them, that's proof of success. But what works for you? And that's why I'm so passionate about the data side of things, because it's showing you exactly what's working for you and what opportunities are available to you. You know, we get into that scarcity mindset where we're just afraid. And so we don't use our zone of genius accordingly. We're so scattered doing all of the things all of the time that we forget. And then we don't do anything that well. And it really comes down to knowing, having that awareness as to what do I want and why do I want it.
What do you think is a common thing? I know obviously the shiny object syndrome is so big. But and people are pivoting, and I see this all the time in myself, with following some newbie entrepreneurs. But like, what do you feel like is a big mistake that you're seeing new entrepreneurs make when they first get into the space?
I think it's overconsumption. Because we are so conditioned by society for instant gratification. You know, you order something on Amazon, it's at your door the next day, 2 days max. You know, you can look and watch a video on Netflix, like on demand. We are living in a cycle or a society of instant gratification. So when we can realize that this takes some time. A lot of times it's not that instant success overnight that we're seeing in the online space. So really keeping your head down so that you're not comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. I think that is so crucial to do. And if you can keep yourself so laser focused, you will see success because you're not getting distracted. You're giving things the amount of time they need to work. You know, when you're testing out a new strategy, make sure you're testing it for at least 90 days before you go making any drastic changes. Because the business world is not like Amazon Prime. I'm sorry. That's just the reality of it. It's a long, slow road to success. I mean, even though I've built 3 businesses in 5 years, there's been a lot of ups and downs. It's really embracing the uncertainty and just having the courage to go for it and keep taking the next step time and time again.
I'm so happy you said that. I do feel many business owners start and they are once again comparing their chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20, and they're doing this and they're doing that, so I should be doing that too. And I'm like, some things like especially for like ads, sometimes like we don't need to jump at doing ads. Like you actually probably need to learn how to sell and market yourself first. Then we can once you start making some money, you can put towards an ad spend or whatever. But like, I think some people are jumping because somebody else is doing this or doing that. And they're over consuming. They're buying courses and not even implementing the courses. I remember doing that when I first started. I'm like, that sounds great. And I'll try it for like a week and I'm like, that's not working. I'll buy something else. That's not working. It's like, you're so right. Try it for I even say sometimes 6 months, like 3 to 6 months. Really give it all you can give. And then you can go, okay, what's working? What's not working? Am I actually making money? Am I not making money? So it's one of those things for me where I think, like you said, you kind of nailed it on the head, where it's like we're consuming so much. We get into what do you call it? Like information paralysis almost.
Yeah.
Where it was like, I don't even know what to do now that I know all this sort of stuff. Where do I go next? And so having that clarity of like, this is all you need to do for the next 30 days. This is all you need to do for the next 60 days. So I think even with my strategy, it's so simple. Like once you learn it, and I'm always just like, please just do this. That's all. Just do this. Try not to do anything else, because then you're going to get overwhelmed and you're not going to want to do anything. Like that's the last thing we want. So anyway, thank you so much for sharing all of that. Is there any last words of wisdom that you want to share with the audience today?
You know, just again, keep it simple. Because at the end of the day, you are the CEO of your business, no matter if you are a team of 1 or 100. Learn to leverage your data. Learn to look and embrace your numbers, because they're not here to judge you. They're not here to tell you you're a failure. They're not here to tell you, oh my gosh, you're amazing. No, they're just information. And when you can learn to leverage that information, you will see growth, because now you've stopped guessing your way through business and you're learning how to strategically grow. There's a reason major corporations have entire departments dedicated to data and strategy. It's because it works. It's because it has withstood the test of time. So find a way to lean into it, to get curious, find those patterns and embrace it. And you will see the success that you desire.
Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate it. So tell everyone more about where they can find you. And I know that you have a podcast too, so I want to make sure that people are aware of your podcast.
Yes. So I have a podcast. We are actually going through a rebrand right now. So if you are listening to this after February 21st, it is the Metrics Maven podcast, business strategy for solopreneurs. So be sure to check it out. It is streaming on all platforms. We talk all things marketing, metrics, and business strategy over there with a dash of mindset thrown into, because let's face it, that mindset is so crucial as an entrepreneur. So if you love Allison's podcast, make sure to hop on over, take a listen to it. And then as a thank you for listening today to this episode, I would love to gift your listeners a free copy of my book, The CEO Method, An Entrepreneur's Guide to Business Success. It is an Amazon bestseller that you can grab for free if you just head over to amytraugh.com/free book.
Wow. Thank you so much. And I'll make sure to put that link in the show notes so everyone has that. And please check out her podcast. She's just so amazing at what she does. And you're also like in the top, like almost 1% or something in the world. Like she has such a great podcast. So please go check it out. And Amy, what's your Instagram so people can follow you on Instagram?
I'm at Amy Traugh.
Okay.
Easy peasy. Yep.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great week, and I'll see you again next week. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Ambitious Coach podcast today. A couple favors before you go. If you found this episode helpful, please take a screenshot and share it on Instagram. Most importantly, don't forget to tag me at Allison Henderson _coach. That's ALLISON Henderson_coach. And lastly, please take a minute to rate this episode and leave a raving review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to listen. Okay, ambition is great, but it's time to get to work. Take action and commit to being 1% better every day. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you again next week.